Okay, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining. I wanted to first start with the Dvar Torah that jumped out at me, which it's so connected to the avodah that we're doing, and it's a beautiful concept and idea. So I'm going to the parasha, which is Parashat Balak, and Balak is seeing that. Hold on, let me just. Sorry. Oh, sorry. One second. Close it and thank you. Okay, so we're in Parashat Balak, and Balak is watching Bnei Israel coming towards his land, and he's getting very scared because he's seen that they were really very, very successful and strong, and they've won the wars, and they have a reputation of really anything that comes their way, they're able to overcome. And he realizes that in a regular war, he's not going to be able to manage to overcome them. And he decides to go into something more mystical. He decides to go to a Navi that the Goim had, and his name was Bil'am, and offer him a lot of honor and a lot of money for him to curse Bnei Israel. Because he realized, like, coming at them with a war will not be successful at all. And Bil'am is dying to do it, but also he has a connection to Hashem and is a Navi, and he realizes that he's only going to be able to do it if Hashem allows him. He asks for permission, and Hashem doesn't allow him, and until, like, he asks again, and Hashem goes to him, "You can go and I will put in your mouth what to say." And he gets on his donkey and he tries to, and he heads to Balak's domain to see what he could do. Now, I want to go to our world, and I want to take us like to when we are driving and the car in front of us stops. And if the car stops for like a second or two, we're constantly, we start honking, mostly because the driver who's in the back is very limited in the spectrum of what he sees. And it could be that the driver that stopped in front of a crossroad, there's an old person coming, there's a mother walking, and we usually can't imagine why the person in front of us is doing what they're doing. Why aren't they, getting a move on? Why aren't they continuing, driving like fast? And something very similar happened with Bil'am and the donkey. Bil'am hits the donkey again and again because he doesn't imagine that there's a possibility that the donkey has a view of reality that he doesn't. And only after God revealed himself that the angel was blocking the way did Bil'am understand his mistake. So Bil'am realizes his mistake, and in a very rare occurrence, it doesn't happen very often in the Torah, he's able to admit that he was wrong. He said, "Yes, I sinned. I didn't realize that it was you, the angel, standing in the way." Now, when we see a partial picture, it's disastrous to the consequences, and it's something that happened numerous times in this parasha. When Balak wants Bil'am to curse Bnei Israel, he tells him, "Let me take you to a place where you don't see the whole entire nation. I want to take you to a place where you only see part of the nation." He actually says, I want you to see the nation from a limited angle, and you won't see the whole big picture of who Am Yisrael is. And that is definitely the way of people who have a negative eye and want to complain. They see a partial picture because the whole picture is usually very much more balanced, and the desire to see things negatively blinds us. We have something within us that at times we attribute negative motivations to the people standing across from us. And we can only attribute negative motivations to the people across from us if we don't see the whole, if we don't see it from different angles. If we just see it from a narrow point of view, we are then, that's when Bil'am that's when Balak was saying, this is how you're going to be able to curse them. So most of the most of the violence that happens in this world is the inability to see another person's point of view and understand that there's a broad picture. And the person in front of me, he has a good reason from his action. And it's not coming from a bad place, but he just sees reality in a different way and trying to see things from another person's perspective is, as the Indian saying goes, you need to walk a mile in this person's shoe. Because problems occur when we think we see the whole picture and we don't realize that the others also sees a partial picture from a different standpoint. I want to bring two examples of friends of mine that I was doing avodah with. And one of my friends, her first daughter had the first baby, and it was a baby boy. I want to show you what it means to see from a limited point of view. And so a baby boy is born, and the brit came, and they did the brit, and they named the baby Yair. Now, my friend Consuegro, right, her daughter's father-in-law, it's the first grandchild, everyone is over the moon, and he gave him a nickname, and the nickname he gave him is Yaya, right? The name is Yair and Yaya. And my friend was saying, it's ridiculous, it's a disgusting name. What's going to happen if it's going to stick? What kind of name is that to walk around in the world with? Yaya. It makes me think many bad thoughts about my father. Like he's like my Consuegro. He's very limited. He's not intelligent. He's very immature or babyish. Those are what the names that she called him. So I want to put in front of us an avodah that when I want to learn it a lot more in depth, but we're going to be working at it. And I actually did an avodah with someone. I asked my friend, is this the only point of view that could be had about your consuegros? She goes, yeah, with a name like that, like ridiculous. I said, okay, there are two different levels of how we function. There's a level of seeing the facts, and seeing the facts means I have a video camera and I videotape what is happening. And let's say I have a video camera and I will see the consuegros looking at the baby and calling him, Yaya, you're so sweet, you're so cute. I'm so happy you came into this world. And calling him Yaya. Cut. Okay. Now the film cut. And now if I show this film to 100 different people, each one is going to say something very different about your consuegro. You call it, immature and stupid and retarded, and what's going to be when the child is going to be, older? Is this going to be the nickname that's going to stick? However, if other people were looking at this, they would think this is such. Other people could think very, very much other things. They could think, this is a very caring grandfather. He's very playful. He is very loving. He's happy. He wants to go down to his grandson's level. He wants to make noises that his grandson could connect to. There are many, many, many different interpretations. Now, when my friend was interpreting in the way that she was, we need to realize that it's only an interpretation. It has nothing to do with reality. It just has to do with the way you decide to look at the picture in front of you. And that picture, like Balak was telling Bilam, that picture, when she was just looking at a stupid, immature, and retarded, it is a very, very narrow way to view her consuegro. And what we're trying to do in this avodah, we're trying to do the opposite of what Balak was trying to do. We're trying to broaden our view, broaden our horizons, become very multifaceted in the way that we look at situations in my life. In other words, there's a diamond, and the diamond has many, many different facets, many different cuts, and we're trying to see the diamond from all different directions and view. This consuegro, this father-in-law, is a diamond. He's a diamond. And seeing him through one prism is like Balak telling Bilam, I'm not going to show you the whole entire nation, because when you see the whole entire picture, boy, do they look good. Boy, there are many ways of looking at them, and you're never going to be able to curse them. I want you to be able to curse them. So I will show you a very small and limited portion of who they are, and then you're going to be able to curse them. Now, after I did this avodah with my friend, her eyes opened, and she realized that pegging her consuegro in this very limited way was indeed, first of all, making her life miserable, because when we think negative thoughts or see people in a very narrow way, we feel lousy about it. We tend to walk around in this world feeling like with a pit in our stomach that things are not going the way we want it to go, and just reality doesn't straighten with the way that we think reality should be. We walk around in this world miserable, and even sometimes we feel victimized, and we're discontent. And that's all from adopting a narrow point of view, like Balak, the king, told Bilam, the prophet, of, just catch them on the side. And then when Bilam couldn't curse, Hashem said, no, you can't curse. Balak goes to him, so come on, I'll take you to another vantage point, and you'll see them also. You'll see like Efes Katsehu, just a small part of them. And Hashem was not going to have any of it. I want to also bring another example of avodah that I did. I have a friend in Israel, and she, thank God, has many, many children. And the houses are smaller. And my friend can't invite all of her children all of the time. And she does enjoy having them in, as long as for her strength, it works. Like if there are 3 bedrooms, she could only invite 2 children at a time to be there. Now, she has a daughter, and this daughter has a couple of children and is having one child after another, and she is able to invite the daughter like once every 3rd week. She has like 10 children, God bless them. And so my friend was telling me, every time my daughter and son-in-law come, so my son-in-law makes a sarcastic comment about, thank God you thought to invite us, or I hope this isn't going to be the next time you'll invite us. It's not going to be in another year or 2, kind of a thing. And every time he says it, it makes her like something in her jumps, and she views it as, the guy's being very sarcastic, and he's being very obnoxious, because she actually does invite like once every 3 weeks, once a month. She does invite, but there are other children, and there's also Shabbats that we want to be alone, which is totally legitimate. Not only legitimate, it's recommended. We need to, we want to give our tov, and we want it to come from a tov place. So we want to do when it's good for us, not because this one's expecting, that one's expecting, and this friend really is very aware of this avodah that she wants to have them. She wants to have them the tov. So there is the fact, and the fact is something that we're going to film, that they're sitting around the Shabbat table, and the son-in-law is saying, I hope the next time you invite us is not in a year, right? That's a fact. He said that. Now, everything that goes on in my head afterwards, oh, he's like just not grateful, and and he is not considerate, and he is and he's just trying to stick it to me. All of those words that I say about him are interpretations of the way I took the sentence that he says. Now, if I was to show that film to 100 people, I will hear 100 different points of view about how they interpreted it. And it can have very different interpretations. One of the interpretations could be that he's saying, I enjoy coming, I like to be invited at all times. I want this house to be open to me at all times. Why? Because I love being with family, because my wife has a baby every other year and she needs help, because I believe that with families, the homes just need to be opened and anyone could come and go as they want. No one needs to be invited. There are many, many different nuances that we could look at this situation where when he says, I hope it's not gonna be another year till you invite me, we can take it. Now, our goal, okay, taking interpreting things that show the person standing across from us in a negative light is basically taking, if we liken the person to a fruit, it's like we decide to eat the shell of the walnut rather than the core walnut. But we don't want to eat shells. We don't want shells to be part of our lives, because when we eat the shell, we're going to have a bitter taste in our mouth. Our teeth are going to break. It's going to scratch our throat. It'll hurt our stomachs, right? When we decide to focus and interpret negatively what the person is saying, that's what we're doing to ourselves. And instead of that, we're going to open up our hearts and decide that we will only choose to eat the juiciest part of the walnut that the person across from us has to offer. Just like my friend and her consuegro who called the baby Yaya. We choose to have the best possible facet of the person shine in our life. And why are we doing it? Not because we're doing a favor to the consuegro, to the son-in-law, to my daughter, or to the other person. Not because of that. It's because I want to create good for myself, for me. Because when I walk around thinking that my consuegro is a stupid idiot, I'm harming myself. I'm walking around like a dreck. I'm walking around like a person that's unable, to put a smile on her face because someone who called the baby Yaya is able to ruin my day, right? So once, let's say, my other friend that invites in a measured into her house, she's able to see her son-in-law in that way, in a way of he loves family, he loves openness, he wants to know he could always come. Like there needs to be there's some families that let's say in my parents' family, my father would get very angry if I would call up and say, Dad, can I come for Shabbat? Like, what do you mean? This is your house. You don't ask, you just come. Now, why is that with my father? Because my father believes that when there's room in your heart, there's room in your house. And he also believes that for Shabbat, it's good enough to have bread and tahina, and we don't need more than that. And if you cut up some olives and pickles, you're over the top. And if you actually serve chicken to the table, like, forget it. But for him, so for him, it's really easy to open up his house. It causes no stress for him. He believes that we want when we host, food is inconsequential. Really, what's important is the togetherness, the beyachad, the conversation, the ideas, the like food. We could go anywhere and get food today. It's not an issue for him. So anytime I would ask my father, Dad, is it okay if I came to your house? What are you, crazy? Your house, just come. And it could be that I would come and there are 10 other people sleeping there. He doesn't care. Like he doesn't care. So it could be that the son-in-law has that kind of vision or view or desire or dream of how things are going to be like. And it doesn't mean that I need to change because of that. It just means that I could look at him and see the heart of the walnut, the nice, crunchy, delicious nut that's there. Discard the shell. The shell doesn't have the shell goes into the compost. It doesn't have a part in my life. And that's the way I choose to walk in the world. I do not choose to walk in the world like Balak and Bil'am, trying to just see a part of the story, a part of the picture, to see a part of the person. No. From this week's parasha, I want to take the ability to be able to see things from a high vantage point of view, from multifaceted like a diamond, to see the entire, the whole entire picture. And okay, so those were two avodot that I did. I want to go into an avodah that I did with my daughter Shalhevet, but I'm stopping for 1 minute just to see if there are any questions. I want to talk about another avodah that I did with my daughter Shalhevet, and it takes like a different aspect of the avodah that we're doing, but I feel like even if it's not on the same exact topic, I want to bring up the avodah because it's things that we find in our lives as we go about our day, and I think it's very helpful. I think it's helpful when we hear about other people's avodah. We could relate to it. They mirror back to us. We apply it to our lives. Okay. So my daughter Shalhevet just had her third child, a daughter, which, by the way, I have to say something about it. She named her daughter, she had two sons and she has a daughter. And she named her daughter Shemesh because her husband doesn't believe in naming after, like her husband had his mother pass away 5 years ago. And he didn't want a name for his mother. And he also did not want a name for me. And for me, it was very important. Let's say that I would have loved to be named. I would have loved to have a granddaughter named for me, even though I just had like two names for me. And Ralph saw how important it was for me. So he called up Shalhevet's husband and he told him, I just want to let you know, it'll make my wife so happy if you named your daughter Michal. And of course you could name her for your mother, but if you don't, she would really want it. And we went to the naming, like Shalhevet had a naming party for her daughter. And they named the daughter Shemesh. I don't know if I told you about this, but I know that before Michal Levona, it would have really bothered me and hurt me. And I would have said things about my daughter like, she doesn't value me, she doesn't respect me, she doesn't appreciate me, that she's not naming her daughter for me. And I know after Michal Levona, life, it became very proportional. Like proportional means like I see things in proportion. Like, okay, this is what they chose. He doesn't understand the custom. He doesn't understand the beauty. He was not named for anyone. They feel like they want to bring in their new names and no one is going to tell them what to do. And they want to be original. And he wants his daughter not to have 5, 6 other Michals in the family, but he wants her to shine. Her name is Sad. And I was able to like really, there were times like if before Michal Levona, I would have been crying about it. Now, thank God, I thanked Ralph. Thank you for talking to him. And in my mind, her name is Michal, but it's their loss. Anyway, she had a baby. That was just like a side issue of sometimes things that we get so hung up on are so inconsequential in the bigger scheme of life, in the bigger picture of what's really important and not important. And I just want to say something else. Yesterday was Michal Levona's first birthday, and I went to visit her today. Today was my birthday, my Hebrew birthday, and yesterday was her Hebrew birthday. I remember when she was born. She was born literally a half hour before my birthday. Had she been born a half hour later, we would have had the same birthdays. And she was born right before Knisat Shabbat, and it was a water birth, and it was just magnificent. We sang Kabbalat Shabbat as she was born, and we had quite a year. And I went to visit her today. She is strong and vibrant and growing. My daughter Shalhevet is pumping milk for her, and with that, she's growing from that milk because Malka doesn't pump anymore, and the baby gets formula. But she wasn't doing well on formula. The chemotherapy was creating a constipation in her body. And then once Shalhevet had the baby, she started to pump like the colostrum and the milk that's very rich. and she's not constipated anymore. She's growing with Shalhevet's milk, and she's crawling and happy and vibrant, and she's starting to talk even. She's starting to say like her father's name and butterfly and different words, and just really, it's such a miracle. I remember the doctor told us, pray for a miracle. Like, I can't tell you anything, but you need to pray for a miracle. And I want to thank everyone for praying, because the miracle is happening. We're living it. So that is, I had to say that because when I was talking about Shalhevet's avodah, a lot thanks to her milk is this kind of growth and process that Michal is able to make, that is creating like a health within her. So Shalhevet had a baby a month ago, and it was and she and her husband decided to live life in a way that is not standard. The way that they decided to live is that her husband is a tour guide, and he will work 15 days a month, and not consecutive, like 5 and then take 5 off, and then 5 other days and then take 5 off, like that, totally not consecutive. And they're going to homeschool their children. And the reason he's going to work only 15 or 10 days a month is because for that amount of money is sufficient for them to live. It doesn't leave them room for a lot of, and any, like, they buy things secondhand, and they live a very, very simple life. And because it's important for both of them that the mother and father, both of them, are going to be raising the children. They didn't want a kind of a life where, the father goes and works and sees the kids, 2 hours in the nighttime. He wants to be very involved. His father was the kind of guy that worked in the bank 24/7, and he never saw his father. And he always said, when I have my children, I want to. So they live in a very measured way. They don't waste anything. They're vegans. They buy everything secondhand, very spartanly, very, very spartanly, and they're very happy with the way they live. Now, when she had the baby, he took off a month, and they were able to manage. And after the month, he took a job for a 10-day job, tour guiding, is like a birthright, which pays really good. And then he 10 days, and then he takes off for 10 days. So Shalhevet was very, very nervous before the 10 days, because she had her 2 sons and the new baby who's a month old. And she just felt like, how's she going to be able to handle it? How's she going to do it? And we had a conversation before Tomer left. And she did some avodah about relinquishing, about things not being perfect, about not needing to entertain her kids so much, even though they are homeschooled, and like letting loose a little bit, getting more help. Okay. And so the 10 days went by, and it was really good. And she held herself. And also, I told her, don't look into the future like, oh my God, I have 4 more days. How am I going to survive? What's going to be? What's going to be? What's going to be? All the questions of what's going to be. When we ask ourselves a question, what's going to be, we're basically saying, I do not believe in God, because what we have now is what we have. And what we have now, God is with us, and this is what we have. So when we angst and anxiety about what's going to be, we're basically trying to deal with situations that we don't have. God didn't give us the strength to deal with it yet. So asking what's going to be is like telling God, you're really not in my life, because I'd rather be in the future rather than be with you in the present. So that was an avodah that I did with her, and thank God it really went very well. And what happened is that once Tomer gets back, she wants to have a free day without the children, except the baby, take the baby with her. She wants to be able to just lie in bed and read and nurse the baby, and not cook or do dishes or take care of the children. Okay. And so what she wants is Tomer to take the kids and leave the house, because she wants to have the house for herself. Now, Tomer just finished 10 days, and he wants to be home with the kids. He doesn't want to leave. And he just got home, and he wants to, hang out in the house. Finally, he's home. And she finds herself wanting him to leave. So first of all, and at a certain point, she started to scream like, "Why don't you just go? I need time for myself." And I was with them for 10 days. Just take them out, and it became very, very heated. She left the house with the baby, and she called me up, and she said like, "I can't believe I'm with them, and he's not taking them. He doesn't care, and he's not considerate, and he doesn't appreciate, and on and on and on about, why can't he just leave the house with the kids? Why can't she just have the house to herself?" And I I asked her, um, I told her a couple of things. One, when we want something from someone, when we want someone to go according to what we want, we're basically putting our happiness and our well-being in that person's hand. In other words, she's constantly wanting someone to go, 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 so she'll have a quiet time. She's putting the good, her good, her the tov that she needs to be doing for herself. She's putting it into Omer's hands. And when you put it in someone else's hands, right? I want you to do dishes my way. I want you to go where I want to go. I want you to do what I want to do. I want to do this on vacation. I don't want to do anything and I want you to do this, that, and the other. It's like we're putting our tov in someone else's hands, and it's always it's a recipe for misery and bitterness and victimization. And so that one, you don't look at another person and tell them, this is what I want you to do, and you have to do this, otherwise I'm going to explode, otherwise I'm going to be miserable, otherwise your life is not going to be worth living, and my life is not going to be worth it. Now, the second thing I told her is, Shalhabet, I want you to give me 5 solutions to your problem of wanting to stay in bed and nurse the baby and read a book for a full day, because you just did a 10-day stretch with a month-old baby and your 2 little children. But I want you have one solution. Now, having one solution to a problem is as if we're saying, God, you're very limited, and there's only one solution for my problem, and this world is a world that just stinks because God is very limited, and he has no other options to offer me. So I told her, I want 5 different solutions. And she said, well, you know what I would do if I had money? I would go and take like a Airbnb for a day. When I see that he's not leaving the house, just book an Airbnb and go and do it. And another solution is I would come to your house. I would take her in the car and drive. And if she took the car, it means that her husband doesn't take the car. So of course, she tells her husband, if by 10 o'clock you don't leave the house with the kids, I'm taking the car and I'm driving to my mother and I'm just spending up. I could go to a friend. Like, there are many. I want us to think that God has endless and limitless options and opportunities for us. And we just need to, as I said before, be able to open up our eyes to be able to see it, to be able to see that he is there. And now let's say she told me, if I take the Airbnb, then we're just spending money on an Airbnb and we're trying to save money because we want to build a house because we don't want Tomer to work, 30 days a month. And at that point, I told her, like, your well-being and you being calm is worth all the money in the world. Like, this is, staying 10 days, this is what you need. And you cannot put yourself on hold. You need to be taken care of, because when we take care of ourselves, we're basically like the foundations of our families. And when we're well taken care of, everyone else is well taken care of as well. Right? We're calm, everyone else is calm. Like, we're the axis that our family like turns around, because here her children would just saw her screaming and fighting and bickering with her husband. Like, no, that's not what we want to show our children. We want to be able to maintain ourselves strong and healthy. So yeah, that's going to cost money, and yes, but your well-being comes before anything. So the avodah that she needs to do is to, oh, okay, something else. Um, I asked her what, when she first told me the story, I asked her, what do you learn about yourself from this story that happened? And she said what she learned about herself is that I want to remember her exact words. Oh, that I walk around in the world feeling like I'm a victim. That now it didn't only happen in this situation. It happens in other situations in her life. Walking around in the world feeling that people like that people like are out to get her, like they're sticking it to her. It's a mindset of of this is what she discovered between her and her husband. It's a mindset that she walks around with. Now, is it true or not true? Once you have it in your head, everything that happens to you, you're going to interpret in that way. Walking around in the world like a victim, like they're sticking it to me. She was thinking about her husband, he's sticking it to me. That's what she learned about herself. And the second thing that I was telling her that needs to happen is that we need to realize that our well-being is firmly in our hands. It cannot be given over to anyone because we don't want to create bitterness and we don't want to create resentful, like to be resentful people. So she heard the avodah, and I think like the main part of it is when we feel stuck, we need to realize that Hashem has endless solutions for us, endless possibilities, endless ways of things turning out. And we need to turn to him and realize that the solutions exist. We just need to broaden our view. Any questions? I wanted to do an avodah. I did it with it was my avodah, and I think a lot could be learned from it. And it's an avodah that you're going to keep on hearing me going back to, because just at this point now, I'm starting to process everything that I went to with Michal and I did this with my teacher, this avodah with my teacher, and it has like really important points that I want to share with everyone. So I think that I mentioned it when I spoke about what I was going through, that as Michal, when I was in the hospital and the doctor told us that we need to pray for a miracle and we didn't know what was going to happen. The doctor said, we don't know what's going to be with her. So I felt like my world was like I was walking around in a black haze. And I also realized something about myself that I think I mentioned, that when I usually wake up in the morning, there's a lot of music happening in my head. And when Michal hit, the music died. And I didn't even realize how much music was a part of my life in my head until the music died, the day the music died. And the music came back to life about 2-3 weeks before we did the MRI, and we saw that she was, and we saw that the growth really had shrunk substantially. And when I was thinking back on myself, I found myself being very disappointed with myself. I thought to myself, like, okay, your granddaughter was sick, and it was tremendously hard, and your music died. It's like you went into like this black hole. Where is your emunah? Where is your simcha? Where is like being able to take your strength and wake up and have faith that things were going to work out? Now, there were some days that I was able to do it and some days not. And I was really beating myself up about it, disappointed with myself. So my teacher was telling me that there are different ways that we grow in life. And one way is to beat yourself up and grow through that. Like, this level is not good. You need to get to the next level. You need to be better. How could you do this? Why did I do it? Like beating yourself up. And then there's another way that we could grow in life. And I want to adopt the second way that she gave me. The second way to grow in life is to realize that the level that I'm at now, and I'm saying this to everyone, the level that we are now is a level that we must be in and that we must pass through in order to get to the higher level. It's like having a baby, and the baby needs to first lift himself, his hands up, and his chest up. And then he puts himself on all four. And then he starts to crawl. And then he starts to walk. And then he starts to run. He cannot skip a level. Every level he's at is good for him. It's necessary for him. And he needs to go through that level. Now, when does a baby get on to the next level? When they mastered it and they want to develop to the next level, to a higher level. But he could never go up to that higher level before doing the previous one. Now we could decide to what I was deciding to do is I was taking the level that I was at was as follows. I constantly, when the doctors were saying, we don't know if she's going to be able to see, we don't know if she's going to, like all these different things, they don't know. My mind immediately went to the future. Is she going to get married? Is she going to have a normal childhood? Is she going to be able to eat? Is she going to be smart? Is she going to, I was trying to see like the big picture. And that's a part of me that's like the event planner that sees the big picture. However, I realized that I would like to go up to the next level. And I didn't want it to happen by darkening the level that I am, by blackening by saying, oh, how could you? You would, like your music died. You didn't have emunah. No. We're not going to grow through hitting ourselves. We're not going to grow through putting ourselves in a court of law, like putting ourselves in a court where the police is telling us you should have done, you shouldn't have done. We're going to grow through thanking God for the level that we had, asking him for strength to get up to the next level, and realizing that these levels are fundamental for us to go through. I see Michal now, interestingly enough, she is starting to stand and walk as she is holding on, but she never crawled. She didn't crawl. She went, I think because she has like a peg and a port in her stomach, it wasn't comfortable for her to crawl. And the doctors and the physical therapists are telling my son-in-law and my daughter, she cannot skip crawling. The crawling develops her brain, it develops cognitive abilities. Some people who skip the crawling, when they grow older, things are hard for them, and physical therapists would tell them, crawl around in order to develop those parts of your brain. So each one of these steps is fundamental, is important, and I need to like be able to tell myself, your ability to look at the greater picture is a great level to be in. If you want to, you could grow on to the next level. Now, we always want to grow and we want our strength to develop, right? But we don't want to put ourselves down because the growth is going to happen. I want it to happen betov, only in good. And the question I want to ask myself always is, what have I discovered about myself? What do I want? What do I want to be built in me? So I was telling my teacher, I want to have I like the broader, looking at the broader picture, but it was sucking me out of my, my joy of life. I like to see the broader picture, but somehow seeing the broader picture makes me like not able to enjoy life. So she told me something really interesting. She said, sometimes when we want to control a situation and we can't control the thoughts in our head, we go out of our heads and try to control the situation outside of us. Instead of controlling our thoughts, and let's say my thoughts, so then I decide, I'm not going to control my thoughts, but I still want to have control. So I go and try to control the world outside of me. So what I want to do is I want to get into a place where my head is like a clear, clean page without reaching conclusion and having imagination, and telling myself stories. I want to have a head that's very, very clean. And how do I do that? First of all, I want to just take the concept of clean head, and I want to say that I want to expand when I come to deal. I want to expand on that concept very much because it's an avodah I want to take on myself for the healing of Michal. I keep on saying I want her head to be clean, but in order for her head to be clean, I want my head to be clean first, right? I want her head to be clean for the tumor, but it means that I want to walk around with a clean head. So that's going to be a whole other class that I want to develop. But what we really need to realize is that we think that our thoughts are automatic, right? We think our thoughts are automatic, but my thoughts are going to be the inner discussion in my head, and they're going to create my reality, right? And when I sit home and I try to imagine the future, God gave me strength to deal with the present. When the future is going to come, I'm going to have the strength to deal with it. And what takes away the happiness of my life is because I am trying to imagine the future and I don't have the kohot to deal with it. And that sucks me out of every happiness that I have. And my avodah is to live in the present, to enjoy and be grateful for everything I have this minute. Do not allow my head to go anywhere, and realize that in the future, whatever is going to happen, God will give me the strength to deal with it, because he only gives us the strength to deal with what we are facing today. What we are facing today, we have the strength to deal with. Okay. Thank you, everyone.